I find your lack of faith disturbing.
N3Radio in the mix.
This episode of Don't Tread on Me is sponsored by Perky's Paperbacks. Check them out.
N3Radio in the mix.
Join your hosts, MADDOG, BEACHBALL, and Trooper Sam as they expose the communist infestation in our culture with Don't Tread on Me right here on N3 Radio, starting right now.
Welcome back to Don't Tread on Me. This is episode 34, and this is the prelude to the Fandom Menace. We did have a different show planned for today, but, people's lives came in the way. So right now, I'd like to welcome our boss here at N3 Radio. BEACHBALL, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, MADDOG. It's good to hear from you. I'm really excited for today.
So, we're going to do a little bit something different. We're going to talk a little bit, and then we're going to go into a music show. So I did a new wave music show. If you're into new wave, check it out. If not, don't check it out. I mean, please check it out. It's just me working out, trying to, figure out the little bumps and bruises to this new system that I'm all figuring out as we go along. So please enjoy, after me and BEACHBALL do a short show here today, please enjoy some new wave music from the 80s. All the greatest hits. I talk a little bit about the music. It's cool. Check it out. If you never heard new wave, you're a young person, you weren't in that era, maybe it's something cool to check out. So today is February 20th, 2019. It's episode 34. I'm calling it the prelude to the Fandom Menace. The Fandom Menace, we're going to come back on Saturday, and we're going to have a roundtable discussion about what's going on in the fandom of Star Wars right now. That's so interesting. The Fandom Menace is the reaction to this social justice warrior takeover of the Star Wars franchise. It's kind of like Comicsgate, where the social justice weirdos have taken over and have gatekeeped people out of the fandom. But, we've been talking about it little by little. We're coming to a really cool point where a lot of this shit is coming to a head, and a lot of these people are stepping on their own landmines. So
they're eating themselves.
Yes,
they're like piranhas,
yes.
Like Ethan Van Sciver said.
That if you're not listening to, if you're not watching YouTube, Comic Pro Secrets, you're wrong. It's the Ethan Van Sciver, or EVS for short, as what we'll call him, is the face man of the Comicsgate and Fandom Menace communities. Check him out. Like and share, please. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff. The guy's brilliant. We really want to direct people in his direction, especially if you feel like that you've been forced out of a geek community like comics and Star Wars. There's others like us who are rising up to, show the powers that be that we're not going to take it anymore. It's like the proverbial Antifa when they started their campaigns against like the Berkeley College, where they were basically punching a bunch of old people and spraying people with OC, and it really didn't nothing really transpired until the Patriots really started showing up and punching back and making these guys trip over their own landmines and tripwires. So it's a really, really cool thing. We'll be talking about it with Trooper Sam. As a matter of fact, Trooper Sam will not be with us tonight because he's got all kinds of issues at his house. But hopefully by Saturday, we'll all be spun up. We'll talk about Comicsgate and Fandom Menace in a long-form roundtable discussion. So come back for episode 35. Enjoy the new wave music hour that I put out there. It's still an hour, right, BEACHBALL?
Yes, it's still. It's about 55 minutes. Okay.
So I got to bring up something really quick before we get into what we have here. I have a really good friend that I met over the years. Started out on Mixlr on channel 1138. He does a show called Get Your Geek On, and his name is David Gramillion. He's a really good guy. We've mentioned him here in the show before, and he invited me in Facebook into his Get Your Geek On Facebook group. And of course I accepted, a friend of yours sends you into this group. Now, stupidly of me today, this is what happens there, Beachball. I see a Brie Larson Captain Marvel post up there, and I make some kind of comment like they're not going to get my 5 tickets. I'm not because we're not going to go see anything that Brie Larson does because she's a fucking commie idiot.
She's also a racist and a sexist.
Bigot. We'll just say bigot, and that kind of covers it all. And I really hate her. I would never want to see anything she's in. If she's in the next Star Wars movie, I won't see it. It's just like I won't see not another Rian Johnson. I don't want to see Rian Johnson touch anything with the Star Wars label on it at this point. But that's me. Anyway, I make some posts. My posts are, and it was basically referring to there's early viewing. So people who are already seen the movie are out there writing their reviews. And of course, they're all, this movie's brilliant, and I wanted to let everybody know that, hold on, this film might not be as brilliant as you think. Realize that if you've seen an early screening of a Disney picture, whether it's the MCU Marvel Universe or Star Wars or any of the regular Disney stuff like the Pirates of the Caribbean, that there's a quid pro quo that goes along with those people having that type of access to early viewings of those movies. And they're kind of expected to play ball. So you never really, and then after The Last Jedi, of course, where it had a 96% critic score, you can't really always be on the side of the critic, So I had some negative comments where I was like, there's a quid pro quo that goes on with this stuff, especially early viewing, where, I would wait a little bit before I start jumping on the bandwagon. And I had one guy kind of respectfully disagree with me and kind of keep pushing me. And I'm like, look, I'm not spending any money on anything that bigot Brie Larson has anyway. So it's irrelevant. And then some lady jumped on there and she came out and said that I was a conservative idiot. Oh, don't listen to him. He's a conservative idiot anyway. And I fucking lost my mind and I went off. So I started putting I started kind of attacking every point they made. At one point they tried to make, well, it's no different than if Tom Cruise, I said, my answer was I haven't paid for a Tom Cruise movie in 20 years, 20 plus years probably. And I got to the point look, I have no problem that you guys like this film or want to go see it or are happy to go see it or anything like that. But just stop telling me how to think and how to act and how to, you know what I'm saying? And it went back and forth. And then I cut away from my phone. I was in the gym. And I went back. I saw that there was a couple more posts. I tried to post back, read what those posts were, and they instantly started disappearing. And then I realized that the post was deleted. And then I realized that it was a post specifically from my friend's shows group. And then I kind of felt bad. And I was like, oh, man, it sucks. I didn't really mean to, get into a argument in my friend's group. I mean, I know I could steer away from things, but sometimes, when you've been so bombarded with gatekeeping, when you're in the geek community, like a Mad Dog just wants to bite. I mean, I don't want to just, like take what they have to say. I want to bite, And when I realized that after the aftermath, I realized that, oh, okay, well, I just want to apologize publicly to David Gramillion and his Get Your Geek On show and everybody responsible in the group. I just want to publicly apologize to him in that group. But I do not apologize for what I said. Never, ever, ever apologize to SJWs. Never, ever. That's why we are working to get our politicians to once again support the blue collar and abandon the blue hair.
I love it. I have to honestly say I left that group probably about a year ago because just saw some stuff on there that just screamed SJW and was like, you know what, David might be a good guy, but some of the people around him that are talking, that are posting, I don't want to be involved with, so I left the group.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this is what's happened, that these guys have infested themselves in our culture. And like our motto is now, our new motto is, we are exposing the communist infestation of our culture. And I felt like going after, I felt like standing up to the social justice wackos, and I felt like biting, so we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna tease that, yes, if you're not checking out YouTube's Ethan Van Sciver on Comic Book Pro Secrets, or is it Comic Pro Secrets or Comic Book Pro Secrets? Let's get that squared away, because I always
not sure. I've been watching YouTube all day and checking, most of his videos out, and then I still know if it's. I think it's Comic Pro Secrets.
It's Comic Artist Pro Secrets. My bad. Comic
Artist Pro
Secrets.
Okay.
So I was. We're kind of right, but EVS is incredible. The guy's not only the face of the movement, but he's intelligent. He's hilarious. He did a song to Pablo Hidalgo that was just hilarious. I mean, like, if you're in the geek culture, you got to be tied into what this guy's doing. And he's hated. He's hated. Jimmy, do you like Ethan Van Sciver?
You stink, and I don't like you.
Are you talking to me?
You stink, and I don't like you.
You think you don't like me, Jimmy, right?
Oh, you really are an ass.
Oh, man.
Walter, am I wrong? No, you're not wrong. You're just an asshole.
So we got a new friend here on D-Tom. It's Robot Jimmy, and then Robot Jimmy has cool little things like this.
No, stupid. That's not what I'm telling you.
So you'll be hearing from Robot Jimmy. That's Jimmy Norton. If you're not a fan of Jimmy Norton, you should be. I think Beach Ball here played him once on the Comedy Channel, on the Comedy Hour. Is that correct?
Probably, yeah. When we used to have the Funny Bone on n3radio, we played a little bit of Jimmy Norton. Yes.
Okay. So I got a first video here. It's Tucker Carlson from Fox News, and he's talking about what? No collusion. What's this? What do you mean no collusion? I don't believe you.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight we have news for you, breaking news that for whatever reason is being downplayed or ignored by other media outlets, but we think you ought to know about it. 5 simple words describe it. There was no Russian collusion. There's no evidence whatsoever that the Trump campaign conspired in any way with the government of Vladimir Putin during the last presidential election, period. That's apparently the conclusion of the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee. That committee spent 2 years investigating this question, of course, hundreds of interviews, reams of classified documents, untold millions in taxpayer dollars. No collusion at all. That is what we are hearing tonight they have found. Now, if you've been following this story at all, and of course you have been, you will not be surprised by this. No Russian collusion is a lot like moon landing actually happened, or abominable snowman was probably a long-haired mountain goat. You knew that already because you're not an idiot. But if so, compare your mental acuity to that of prominent political figures here in Washington. Next time you feel dumb, watch this tape.
I think there's plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy in plain sight.
Trump has the Kremlin clan surrounding him. There's more to be learned about it. I believe there's been collusion.
It's starting to smell more and more like collusion.
We saw cold, hard evidence of the Trump campaign, indeed the Trump family, eagerly intending to collude possibly with Russia.
Smells like collusion. Plenty of
I'm just going to pause it right here. God, I hate Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, I know. I do. But hate is a strong word, but it's just like when you have a career politician like that who gets to that age, they become a caricature of themselves.
Oh, my God, yeah. Here, I'm going to fire it back up.
Evidence of collusion, hard evidence of collusion. In the end, it was all fake. And they knew that. They knew it wasn't real. They were lying from the very first day. Only their remarkable aggression, their willingness to say literally anything, no matter how outrageous or slanderous or vile, kept the rest of us from catching on to what they were doing. If the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee is willing to call someone a traitor to this country, there's got to be some truth to it, right? Actually, no, there wasn't. It was always a hoax. Adam Schiff is an unscrupulous charlatan. That's the real lesson here. Don't expect people like Schiff to apologize, though, or correct the record, much less repair the lives of the people they have destroyed. Carter Page still can't find a job. Roger Stone is still facing life in prison. Meanwhile, Schiff's PR team on the other channel continues like none of this ever happened. Here's Malcolm Nance of MSNBC explaining that the results of a 2-year Senate investigation mean nothing. People are guilty because we say they're guilty. We must punish them.
Let me just say one thing. When Benedict Arnold gave the plans to West Point to Major Andre, and they captured Major Andre, they did not have any real information linking those plans to Benedict Arnold, other than the fact that he was in his presence at one point during that day. But everyone knew it was treason when they caught the man and they hung him. So at some point, there is going to be a bridge of data here that is going to be unassailable.
No one had any evidence, but everyone knew it was treason when they caught the man and they hung him. That says it all. Let's repeat that once again slowly so you can write down those words and put them on your fridge as a memento of the terrifying mass hysteria we've all just lived through. Quote, everyone knew it was treason when they caught the man and they hung him. That's our country now. That's what the Russia insanity has done to us. The real government shutdown has lasted for nearly 2.5 years. That's 1% of this country's entire existence. We no longer have meaningful policy debates in Washington. We have investigations instead. Nobody can think clearly. Everybody's afraid. The country's core problems don't even rate as interesting anymore, either to legislators or the TV pundits who comment on legislators. The suicide rate just hit a 50-year high. Did you know that? We're in the middle of the worst drug epidemic in the history of America, including the one after the Civil War and the heroin epidemic of the 70s and the crack epidemic of the 80s. This was way worse. And it's one of the reasons the life expectancy in many parts of the country is dropping. This is starting to look like Boris Yeltsin's Russia. And yet nobody in Washington even notices. All Adam Schiff and the rest of the wild-eyed morons can think about is Vladimir Putin, collusion, our hacked democracy, and all the other mindless slogans they've repeated long enough to half believe. We've spent 2 years perpetuating a fraud, and they are still doing it. What is this? It's negligence on a stunning scale. It has nothing to do with Trump. It has everything to do with running this country, and they're not. Historians will look back on this moment in amazement and in sadness. Who put these crackpots in charge and let them break things? Why didn't any responsible person in the media say anything about it? Why did they collude in the charade? What the hell happened to America? History will judge us for this moment. Adam Schiff's grandkids will be ashamed of what he did.
Okay. So what'd you think?
I love that ending. I love that ending.
So, like we all knew, they're reporting that there is no Russian collusion. But I also have a second part of this. So that was from Fox News, Tucker Carlson, right? I
do have a real quick update, Mad Dog. Well, before we get to the second video, the DOJ, rumors are starting to fly around that the Mueller investigation is wrapping up next week, and that it's a big nothing burger.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that what they were going to say, but I didn't know that part. I did see that the Mueller investigation is wrapping up. But now it's a big nothing burger. Something tells me it is a big nothing burger. I think that they lost the political power to be able to push this any further.
Well, I think what really happened was they were counting on the complicity of the liberal media to constantly have this on Trump's back, like a shadow hanging over him, and that would continue to degrade his standing with the American public. The problem is, social media is the balancing act that we have as the people to push back against the propagandists, who they basically are. And the journalists thought that they were the gatekeepers of all information still. And what they didn't realize is that their power had been diminished long ago, and they lost it in front of everybody for all to see during the 2016 election, when they said, oh yeah, Hillary Clinton has a 90% chance of winning. And when she didn't win, everybody's eyes was really opened up and says, hey, maybe these guys don't know what they're talking about at all, and they're just a part of the Democrat Party.
I don't know how we don't even consider that as election interference. If you're outright reporting poll numbers that don't exist or are absolutely misleading, how is that not suppressing my vote? I mean, if you're basically telling me you don't even need to show up because Hillary Clinton is already the president. How's that not voter suppression? It's just that the people in power, and it's on both sides of the aisle. Don't be mistaken. There's plenty of people in the Republican Party and the GOP that wanted no outsider inside seeing what, especially when you make statements like empty the swamp, drain the swamp. That means a lot of things. That means taking out people that are supposedly, they would have much rather had a Ted Cruz run against Hillary than Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is the winner, and Donald Trump is the president, and they have to fucking deal with it. Now, I got an interesting contrast to the Fox News Tucker Carlson no collusion, and you could just see like these you could see the MSNBC people in this video. They're basically cringing that they have to announce this news. So we're gonna do this is about 4 minutes here, and let me pull it up. All right, here we go.
Intelligence Committee, their investigation into Russian election interference and what they have and have not uncovered. NBC's Ken Delanian has just jumped in front of a camera to join me with his new reporting. So, Ken, what are you hearing? What are you learning?
Hallie, after 2 years and interviewing more than 200 witnesses, the Senate Intelligence Committee has not uncovered any direct evidence of a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia. That's according to sources on both the Republican and the Democratic side of the aisle, Hallie. And careful viewers and readers will note that Senator Richard Burr, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee who leads this probe, essentially said that in an interview with another network last week. But what I've been doing since then is checking with my sources on the Democratic side to understand the full context of his remarks, because that was essentially a partisan comment from one side. But this is a bipartisan investigation, and what I found is that the Democrats don't dispute that characterization. The disagreement comes, though, over that pattern of context that we've all seen and heard about over the last few years, more than 100 contacts between Trump campaign officials and Russians. The Democrats say that those remain highly suspicious and that there's a pattern here that still raises questions. But the Republicans say that we just don't know in the end what those were. And Richard Burr said publicly, look, the motives for those are unclear, and we may end up with a report that says you decide, American public, whether there was collusion. Another important fact here, Hallie, is that...
understand that that's exactly what they want. They can't prove that anything happened, so they want to create this facade to basically say, oh, well, we should let the American... Well, there's half of the American... Well, I won't say half. I would say a good 35% of the American population that don't matter what the facts are. They want to kick him out of office. They'll look for any reason, whether it's fabricated facade or covering up the dirty deeds of what the administration did before.
They are nearing the end of this investigation, we are told, but that once they interview their final witness, it will take another 6 to 7 months to prepare a report. So the American public may not see the fruits of this for some time, Hallie.
So you just got to, I have a couple questions for you, Ken, and you just answered one of them, which was a timeline on when we all, the American public, might actually get a sense to see this. And it sounds like it might not be until much closer to the end of the year.
That's right, because they are nearing the end of their fact-gathering process. Richard Burr said that publicly. My sources are confirming there aren't that many witnesses left to interview for Senate investigators. But after they conclude that, then they're going to sit down and write their report. And by the way, the Democrats say this report will not be good for Donald Trump. It will question the judgment of many people in the Trump orbit for having these meetings, for essentially allowing themselves to be preyed upon by a Russian intelligence operation that sought to interfere in the election and to help Donald Trump. But again, no direct proof of a conspiracy. As one Democratic aide said to me, we never thought we were going to find a contract between Trump and Vlad saying, hey, let's collude.
My God. Beachball.
They're spinning themselves into a tizzy. You hear them? They're trying to frame it like, no, there's still something here. Don't give up hope. There's still something here. We got to milk this for all it's worth. They are so desperate. I feel like Jeremy the other day when dealing with he was dealing with SJWs. He was like, I'm going to Dooku myself. I feel the exact same way. These people are crazy. They will do anything, anyhow, anyway, even if it means killing their own, even if it means writing off half the country. They do not like this man, and they will do anything to get him out of office. And it's sad. It's really sad. And the sad part is they have deluded themselves and are living in a fantasy world. Well, and they think that they hold like power over us now still. It doesn't happen. Once they get out their ivory towers out of New York City, out of San Francisco, and they start getting close and close to the center of the country, they realize that they're full of shit. I don't like to curse as much as I used to, but let's call it for what it is. They're full of shit. They know it, and they're trying to spin their way out of it.
This is the thing right here, man. These guys for 2 years have put it down on their reputation that it is fact that Russia colluded with Donald Trump to interfere in our election. I don't think there's any evidence that proves that out at all. And just simply saying contact with Russians, I mean, are we putting that in perspective of how much contact the Democrats have with Russians? Because I do think, powers from foreign countries do want to get on the good side of whoever's running for president, whether it be Republican or Democrat, because they're trying to do what's best for their country. Does it mean that it adds up to collusion and to obstructing the democratic process? Got a little bit more on this.
But the question is, how do we interpret all these various contacts between Trump campaign and Russia?
Not to put too fine a point on it, but I want to make sure I'm understanding this because you are sharing this with me and with all of us at the same time here, and then I'll get Nancy and Shauna to react to this. But if and when the president, as he may inevitably do, point to this reporting, point to these conclusions and say, look, the Senate Intelligence Committee found that I am not guilty of conspiracy, he would be correct in saying that?
Well, except the use of the term not guilty is not really appropriate because they're not a court of law, and Robert Mueller still has yet to weigh in, right? And that's a big question because Robert Mueller knows things that the Senate investigators do not have access to. That said, Trump will claim vindication through this, and he will be partially right because Senate investigators have access to highly classified intelligence. So, for example, if there was an intercept between some Russian intelligence officers...
So he'll be partially right. No. He's completely right. All the evidence that you're talking about is all speculation and all was based on partisan discussions with you. I mean, this guy, I don't even know who this guy is. I mean, I never watch MSNBC.
Oh, he's a clown. He's a clown, just like everybody else at MSNBC. Just give him a little small car, and they could all pack them all into. They're all clowns because they all have these shades over their eyes, and they're tinted a certain color, and they're always going to be tinted a certain color, and nothing, not even their own mistakes, will make them change their minds. Only a few have crossed over, like that CBS reporter that did that interview on that podcast a couple of days ago, and essentially said, unless you go to Breitbart, you're not going to get the other side of the news. And 85% of the news organizations nowadays are registered Democrats.
Oh, we're going to get into that.
And whereas before they would... Okay, good.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. We got 30 seconds left on here. So
suggesting that they were conspiring with the Trump campaign, they would see that. That has not emerged. So that evidence, it does not exist, and Trump will claim vindication. But Trump has set the bar so high. Essentially, if he's not convicted in the court of law of conspiring, in his mind, he's innocent. That's not how many senators of both parties see it, Hallie.
Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel.
Okay. No, thank you. And go fuck yourself. I hate to be hateful like that, but I just have no patience for these people. Because I consider what they're doing to be treason. I do. I have them that strongly about this.
This is the sound that needs to be played after every time an MSNBC does a story on the president.
Oh, dear Lord. Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
The Trump people, they're crawling from the walls. They're coming out of the ceiling.
I got to juggle through a lot of different screens. I'm working on getting another monitor so I can put the studio up in one section, and then I could, juggle through everything else, other places. So this way,
pretty soon you're going to get a camera and you'll be able to do YouTube videos and post those.
Well, not without.
I'll be really looking forward to when you get to that point.
Yeah, if we get to that, I get to that point. I gotta not be able to need my day job. Or I could put
the best thing to do. Hey, just mask it up, dude. Mask it up, or do like other people do, where they have a little avatar at the bottom with moving lips that actually sync up to what you're saying. It's really cool. So,
maybe I get a Boba Fett helmet and do like a hello.
There you go. That would be awesome if you got a Boba Fett helmet.
I don't know how good I would sound through the Boba Fett helmet, but I mean, yeah, it would be funny. All right, CBS's Laura Logan bravely calls out establishment media bias. This interview.
There we go. That's what it was.
This interview is professional suicide. This is a story from the westernjournal.com by C. Douglas Golden. Okay. During an appearance on a podcast last week, CBS news correspondent Laura Logan said, "This interview is professional suicide for me." Boy, she wasn't lying. In the moment of bravery or serious miscalculation, Logan decided to tell the truth. And it wasn't about anything salacious or extramarital affair, fabricating a story, anything like that. Instead, she said what? More or less, no, the media is biased towards the left. CBS correspondent, best known for her reporting from war zones, has made appearances on Mike Drop podcast with former Navy SEAL Mike Ritlin, who has said that the media was absurdly left-leaning and a huge fucking problem and a disaster for this country. I agree with that. That's true, Logan said. The media everywhere is mostly liberal, not just in the U.S., she said. According to Newsbusters, in this country, 85% of journalists are registered Democrats. So that's just a fact, right? Visually, anyone who's been to Israel has been to the Wailing Wall, has seen that the women have only this tiny little spot in the front of the wall to pray. The rest of the wall is for the men, she said. To me, it's a great representation of American media. Is that in this tiny little corner where the women pray, you've got Breitbart, Fox News, and a few others. And from there on, you have CBS, ABC, NBC, Huffington Post, Politico, whatever, right? All of them. And that's the a problem for me, because even if it was reversed, if it was vastly mostly on the right, that would also be a problem for me. My experience has been that the more opinions I have, the more ways that you look at everything in life. Everything in life is complicated. Everything is gray, right? She continued. Nothing is black and white. When it comes to the liberal sameness of the media, Logan said it represents a problem when it comes to trust. How do you know you're being lied to? How do you know that you're being manipulated? I would argue that most people at this point have realized they're being lied to, but that's neither here nor there. And it wasn't just media, Logan said, creating one ideological position on everything throughout the universities, through academia, in schools, in college, in media, and everywhere else. That's what concerns me. Logan also cast doubt on the so-called grassroots political movements or campaigns. We don't even question if what we see in social media is real or not. We don't even question if a grassroots movement is really grassroots, she said. You know, there is a way to start a grassroots movement. You write an algorithm, and you create algorithm. My bad. And you create all this outrage, and you're basically throwing out all the sparks that light the fire, so that it becomes a grassroots movement, because it takes nothing to set it in motion. But did it really begin as one? And if it didn't begin that way, but was manipulated and paid for by someone who serves a political purpose, is it really what we believe it is? And there were other truths served up. We become political activists, and some could argue propagandists, and there's some merit to that, she said. Later added that responsibility for fake news begins with us. So I find it really interesting that, somebody, especially a young woman, puts her career in jeopardy just to make statements like that on a podcast. I just thought it was interesting, and it adds into what we've been talking about. Let's see, get my next video ready here.
Okay.
Here we go. It's Democratic Socialism is Still Socialism by Prager University.
Democratic socialism. It's not the same as socialism because it's democratic, right? Or something, right? People are buying that. People buy that now, right? Apparently. As though adding the word democratic in front of a word changes what it means. Just because we toss something to a vote doesn't change what that something is, nor does it alter whether that something is inherently good or bad. Couple of examples, because I know you'll ask. Hamas was democratically elected as the government in Gaza, despite the fact that the destruction of not only Israel, but the eradication of all Jews is in their official charter. Robert Mugabe, or Bobby Mugabe if you prefer, was democratically elected by a loving majority in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, how's that working out? Venezuela? Well, Hugo Chavez, noted personal favorite and friend of Sean Penn, to whom he constantly pointed as being unfairly characterized as a dictator when in fact he was democratically elected as a socialist. Well, how'd that work out for Venezuela? Well, It's now on the brink of collapse, despite it being one of the most resource-rich nations in the entire world. Basic things like eggs, milk, flour, and toilet paper are either too expensive for the average Venezuelan or simply out of stock. Out of stock, mind you, democratically. I know. Some of you will say, well, that's not fair because really we knew all along it technically was a dictatorship. Okay, that's fair. Let's move on to example number 2. Denmark? Okay, here's the time where you point to an entirely homogenous population about 1/60th the size of America's, and you point to that as the blueprint. Okay, let's go there. This is a place where the middle class can't even afford a car because of the 180% new car tax. And the prime minister was so fed up with Americans pointing to it as a beacon for socialist success that he felt compelled to clarify, I would like to make one thing clear. Denmark is far from a socialist planned economy. Denmark is a market economy. Sweden? I love Sweden. Okay, great bikini team, and thanks to that country, my armoire now doubles as a bookcase. Speaking of which, the founder of IKEA, let's be honest, the only really cool export from Sweden, aside from a few good hockey players, left Sweden because of the stifling high tax rate. So, Sweden, good place, not bad people, but a successful model for a viable economy in today's global market? Incorrect. The fact is that over time, the greatest enemy of socialism is reality. The reality that human nature will invariably pull certain people toward individualism and success and others toward laziness and collectivism. The tension between the makers and the takers always leads to socialism's inevitable collapse. But I know that I can give you examples of failed socialist economies until I'm blue in the face, and you won't care. Because at least socialism is inherently more morally altruistic than the evil, greedy, capitalist warmongering seen in the West. Greed? What's more greedy than wanting to take from someone else something that you haven't earned? Unlike capitalism, free enterprise, which can only occur truly through voluntary transaction, socialism can only occur at gunpoint. That's what it comes down to. If you don't pay your taxes, once you get through the IRS and the auditing and the lawyers and the PR stunts, people make you give the government your money, an increasing amount of your money, the more successful you are, or they send in scary men with guns to take you away. Now, so long as the people having their stuff taken away at gunpoint are in the minority, and the majority feels that they'll get to benefit from more said taken stuff, you'll always be able to win that decision through a popular vote and claim the moral high ground through democracy. Putting the word democratic in front of your socialism doesn't make it any inherently more moral nor less violent. Did you get that? American wannabe socialists also. Get a job. Please, like a real job. You'll probably have to shake first. I'm Steven Crowder for Prager University.
So that was Steven Crowder. I thought that was brilliant. It says a lot.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm glad we're on the same wavelength, because I was just about to say, brilliant.
Yeah, it's just really cool. Really cool. I have one thing to say to socialists who think that they're going to take over this country.
This is Sparta!
Is it time in the show, Mad Dog, when we start to tease what we're going to be talking about this weekend?
Yeah, let's do that. So, it's a good point too, because I want to save the firearm confiscation video for when
for Trooper Sam, definitely, because Trooper Sam, he's got some really good. His fort, as they say, or forte for the uneducated, is definitely the gun rights, gun confiscation, and the Second Amendment. He's so his domain.
He's so locked onto all the all the minutia of gun control.
Intricacies?
Yeah. That was a rough word for my big fat Italian, Polish, and German tongue to be twisting. Before we do that,
we'll forgive your Jersey ass for that. Don't even worry about it.
Hey, Vader, do you like my Jersey accent? Darth Vader doesn't like my accent either. So if you think I'm a bumbling, stuttering prick, then I am. So I seen this thing before we go into the tease. I seen this thing. Okay, so there was this tweet that's going around from a guy named Brian Class. Now I don't know if he's verified, so I don't know who he is. He's probably the idiot that was just speaking on MSNBC that we were listening to, because this has been going around. It's been shared by everybody. It was shared by somebody really close to you there, BeachBall. But I love when they try to make a poignant statement on Twitter, and I just want to read it, and I have a rebuttal for it. So let's be clear. A president using a manufactured crisis to declare a national emergency in order to build a 10-year infrastructure project without Congress is exactly what an authoritarian power grab looks like. This is a serious, dangerous day for democracy in the United States. And I have a rebuttal. Let's be clear. A president and a Department of Justice using a manufactured crisis to spy on political opposition in order to prevent him from enacting the agenda that was demanded by 72% of all voters, along with the investigation and witch hunt, is treason, a coup attempt, and exactly what an authoritarian power grab looks like. This is a dangerous day for the Democratic Republic in the United States.
Very well said.
Thank you.
I saw that too.
Jimmy,
I can't say anything on Twitter because I got myself banned.
I noticed you got yourself banned, and then it was funny. I made a comment to Alyssa Milano, and I was instantly banned. And then for some reason, I was allowed to go back on.
I was given an ultimatum: remove your tweet, and we'll get you back on. So I went to the appeals process, and they said, "What's your name?" I put "F you." "What's your number?" "F you." And the reason that you think you should be allowed back on, I said, and I put just delete my account because you're not worth my time. Basically, I shared the but the hashtag that they've considered to be hate speech, the learn to code. And I dared them to ban me. And they did. So I was like, oh. And then I put leftist bias confirmed. What is it? Twitter is 1984 hashtag. That's what I put.
It sure is. It sure is. It is totally a hate monger pile-on of SJWs and their bullshit. Total NPC crap going on Twitter. So this is right here. We're going to tease what we're doing on our next show. So we're going to get Sam. We're getting him all spun up. He's going to watch Star Wars Scandal 4 and 5 from comic artist Pro Secrets on YouTube, EVS, Ethan Van Sciver. He has an interview with the infamous MakingStarWars.com's Jason Ward. And it's specifically to do with, I recommend that everybody go and watch the whole 5-part series. It's not necessary to watch the 5-part series, but I think it would be really good to check it out, because this is what's going on in you may not necessarily be a fan of geek culture, but your kids are, and they're on Facebook, and they're in Twitter, and they're in these little groups, and they're getting bombarded with all this social justice Nazi rhetoric, where they're forced to have opinions that conform with the group. And what has happened basically is that these social justice warriors in the Star Wars fandom created such a minefield that they're stepping on their own minds. You would agree with that, right, Beachball?
Yes, as we mentioned earlier in this podcast, that Ethan Van Sciver says it the best in that part 4 of that series, where he says that they're piranhas, they're just eating each other. And I would like to, if anybody out there who is who loves the Constitution, who loves free speech, if you're worried about these SJW/NPCs trying to control your thoughts, trying to control your speech, do not worry, because their end game is they're going to eat each other. And as I've said before on some of our podcasts here on Don't Tread on Me, that they're going to discover through their identity politics bullshit that the ultimate minority is the individual. You can't just list somebody as, okay, you're black and you were Muslim and you were born in this neighborhood, so you had this much money, so you are on this level as far as the victimhood goes. When this country stands up and realizes that victimhood is not the end-all be-all of everything, that'll be the end of the SJW NPC movement. Plus, like I said, they're going to find out real quickly that you can't put people into holes and just label them as, okay, you're a transgender female, so you're on this level of victimhood. You're going to discover real quickly that you can't just separate people into groups so easily.
Hey, you want to hear a quick funny story? So, yeah. We've brought up Chris Sequel from Star Wars Underworld time and time again over here. He's another guy I was friends with at one time, and well, I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to call him a guy, because I looked on his Facebook page and he identifies as non-binary. So I don't really know what that means. I think
it means he's allowed the core of his. It means he's allowed the core of his being to be blown to the four winds. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Anyway, I'm going to call him a he for the sake of not really understanding what that means and not really trying to. Yeah, I'm not trying to.
Does he look like a he? Does he look like a he? Does he walk like a he? Does he talk like a he?
I would say he does. I think he identifies as a he when in public. But according to his Facebook, he's non-binary. Well, I think non-binary has to do more with who you sleep with than it has to do with the gender that you are. And that's the real funny thing about that whole kind of talk is one doesn't really have to do with the other one. Yes, they're similar. Sex has two definitions. One means gender, and then one means the act of fornication, and they're not necessarily the same thing. So I don't understand why everybody wants to put on, in their gender section, they want to put down who they sleep with. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Anyway, we already talked about David Gramillion. Well, Chris Sequel used to be his producer on his show, and they had a falling out because Chris is a complete fucking insane wacko. And I find it funny. I was in a back and forth with him over socialism, and I was in back and forth with him over the BuzzFeed article that, was a complete lie. And it was this whole total thing that he was going out of his way to defend sources like Newsfeed, BuzzFeed, and all that stuff. And it was going on for weeks and weeks at a time. He's a friend of mine on Facebook, or at least I follow him on Facebook where I see his posts. And I watched him when it came down to the evidence of the Coventry Catholic boys being innocent of doing anything wrong. I couldn't take it anymore because he was trying to defend the new. So I basically attacked him and I said, look, these kids did nothing wrong. Basically you've been, on a rant of lately to, go out of your way and, attack everybody and say that, this news isn't wrong. BuzzFeed is right. And, when the facts are out there that all these things that you guys sat upon for 2 years are just complete and utter bullshit. And my point and why I keep bringing this guy up is because he's directly injecting his political opinions that are fucking way out there to your kids in his podcast. Kids are listening to Star Wars podcasts and getting anti-capitalist information and indoctrination. You know, we have to understand what's going on. Anyway, so we're going to go. I went there. I argued back and forth with him. He got to the point where he couldn't take what I was saying anymore. And he says, this discussion ends here. So the discussion ended there. I moved on with my life. And then 2 days later, he came up with all these things like attached to, he wanted evidence. He wanted evidence that what I was arguing was something that he had done. He said he didn't defend the BuzzFeed article. He didn't defend everybody who stated that the Covington Catholic boys were wrong. He wanted me to go through his Facebook and point to evidence of where he stated all these things. And I told him I don't have time, the effort, or anything. I know I've been watching it, and this is a between me and you. So he went out of his way to pull up certain posts that he made and put little red boxes around it and all this stuff to I just don't, I just want to say is that I don't have time to go back and forth with you. I have a
you don't. It's not that you don't have time. It's that you have a life, unlike him.
This is my point. These SJWs are destroying generally male-led hobbies. Star Wars, comics, tabletop gaming, video gaming. They're injecting their politics into this shit and destroying the fandom. They are building up a way bigger wall than Trump could ever build up. And it's all based on bullshit. All lies. And there was this scandal. I hope you check out all 5 of EVS's Star Wars scandal videos. It's on YouTube, Comic Artist Pro Secrets. Check them out. Because these guys are embedded in Star Wars. They're embedded on all aspects. They may even be responsible for the Kelly Marie Tran harassment stuff. As a false flag, as a hoax. Don't put anything past SJWs. What's Jesse's?
They will carry on. They will carry on a campaign of misinformation just to prove a point that doesn't exist.
And I mean, they want things to seem a lot worse than they are. They want us to all seem like Nazi. Oh, if you're not 100% on board on rails, you're a fucking Nazi. You're an alt-right fascist. But they're the ones acting like fascists. Free your mind and your ass will fall.
And they don't see it. And they don't see it. They don't see it that way. They think they're so virtuous that they're doing good. That's the scary part. They think they're doing good. And what they're doing is trying to control speech, not just in the gaming and Star Wars community or tabletop gaming, or it's like you said, every single facet of manhood is under attack. From football, NFL football has been under attack for years. It's like we've said before on this podcast. In the 50s, they started going after the workplace. They went after the churches. They went after the family in the 60s. That's why the divorce rate went so up, and they used feminism as the vehicle to split the families apart. It's a coordinated effort by socialists and communists to divide the country and make sure that their viewpoint is all powerful, all king, and those who do not adhere to this thinking are either shamed out of the public life, and if we can't do that, don't be mistaken. Their end game is, if you do not believe like us, then we will take your life. That is the end game here.
Your life and livelihood.
That is
They don't have no problem with deplatforming you, taking away your job. They have no problem.
Doxing you.
Right. Doxing you. Yeah, that was crazy. Or and the new thing is swatting. They'll swat you, and then they'll create hoax swats where they pretend that they were swatted from people like us. Do not engage in the harassment campaigns. Do not engage, because they will make it up themselves anyway.
Right, exactly. The way to fight these people is use hard evidence and facts. Do not engage in harassment. Don't be trust me. I notice. I'm trying to say this to everybody, whoever hears this podcast. Do not be tempted to retaliate in any way, shape, or form in these forms or physical attacks, because we will disavow you immediately. I know it's tempting. You just want to punch these people in the face because they're so stupid. But one, like we said, they're going to eat themselves. Two, use facts and evidence to back your side up, and realize that this is not the end-all, be-all of life.
All right, Beach Ball. We'll wrap it up here. Where can they get in contact with you? If you want to get in contact with Beach Ball on anything that has to do with N3 Radio, he's a good source. So
yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, and you can email us at n3radio, that's the numeral 3, n3radio 2017, that's the numbers 2017 at gmail.com. And if you're wondering, like Mad Dog did a couple episodes ago, why isn't it 2019? Because that is when we were founded. n3radio 2017 at gmail.com.
And you can contact me at MaddDogDTom. DTom means don't tread on me. MaddDogDTom at yahoo.com. And, hey, I got a little surprise for you. I got some outro music here. So I'm going to pump it up, and here we go.
Cool.
My grandmama worked on a factory floor, sewing leather for minimum wage, while my granddaddy worked all the beer joints in town, trying to forget the memories he made. Because when Daddy was born in 1945, we'd been fighting for what we believed, along with 5 other brothers who stood by his side. They were ready, they were willing to bleed. Red, white, and blue, those colors mean something. Those colors stay true, like my family before me. I feel it too. Blood that's in my veins runs red, white, and blue. My daddy grew up on the wrong side of poor, rubbing nickels together for heat. Well, he and his sister barely got by with the clothes and the shoes on their feet. So he joined the service when he was 18, like his daddy and his uncles before. He was ready to die for what he believed, to fight for what's worth fighting for. Red, white, and blue, those colors mean something. Those colors stay true, like my family before me. I feel it too. Blood that's in my veins runs red, white, and blue.
libertarian is now the ultimate power in the universe.
N3 Radio in the mix.
Welcome back to Don't Tread on Me. We are a part of the N3 Radio Network, and I'm doing a special today, D-Tom Radio. So we are still exposing the propagators of cultural Marxism and standing up to the social justice wackos. Today is episode 33, D-Tom Radio. Yes, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different thing today. I'm going to be playing music. I'm recording today. It's February 12th, 2019, and I'm going to be doing early 80s modern rock. So right here for my first song, I have Crowded House. It was released in 1986 from their self-titled album. It reached number 2 on the Billboard Top 100 in the U.S. in 1987. Song's about 4 minutes long. This is Crowded House. Don't dream it's over.
Deluge in a paper cup. There's a battle ahead, many battles are lost, but you'll never see the end of the road while you're traveling with me. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in, they come. Possessions are causing me suspicion, but there's no proof. In the paper today, tales of war and waste, but you turn right over to the TV page. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in, they come. Between us, we know they won't win. Shadows ahead, barely clearing the roof. Get to know the feeling of liberation and release. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in, they come to build a wall between us. No.
And I'm back. This is Mad Dog, D-Tom Radio. We're doing modern rock. That was Crowded House, Don't Dream It's Over. For our next song, Tears for Fears. This song was released in 1985. It was their fourth single taken from their LP, Songs from the Big Chair. It was number 3 on the Billboard Top 100. This is Tears for Fears, Head Over Heels. It's about 4 minutes of 14 seconds long, and I really like it because it's, you know, from the movie it's in the movie Donnie Darko, which is really kind of cool 80s movie, but you should check that film out if you haven't. Here's Tears for Fears, Head Over Heels. back. This is Mad Dog, D-Tom Radio. You just listened to Tears for Fears, Head Over Heels. Our next song is from a band called Simple Minds. Released in 1985. It was their first single off their most successful album, Once Upon a Time. It reached number 3 on the Billboard Top 100. It's called Alive and Kickin'. It's roughly 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And here we go.
You turned me on. You lit me up like the sweetest cup I shall with you. You lit me up. Don't you ever stop. I'm here with you. Now it's all or nothing. 'Cause you said you follow through. You follow me, and I follow. What you gonna do when things go wrong? What you gonna do when it all breaks up? What you gonna do when the love burns down? What you gonna do when the flames go up? Who's gonna come and tell you time? What's it gonna take to make a dream survive? Who's got the time to calm a storm inside? Who's gonna save you? Alive and kicking. Stay until your love is alive and kicking. Stay until your love is, until your love is alive. You lift me up to the crucial top so I can see. You lead me on till the feelings come and the lights that shine on. But if that don't mean nothing, like if someday it should fall through, you take me home where the magic's from, and I'll be with you. What you gonna do when things go wrong? What you gonna do when it all cracks up? What you gonna do when your love burns down? What you gonna do when the flames go up? Who's gonna come and turn the tides? What's it gonna take to make a dream survive? Who's got the time to calm a storm aside? Don't say goodbye, don't say goodbye. In the final seconds, who's gonna say that? Ooh, oh, alive and kicking. Oh, stay until your love is alive and kicking.
Simple Minds, Alive and Kicking, 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Working out over here, trying to get things, moving. Trying to build my skills. This is Mad Dog, D-Tom Radio. Our next song here is from a band called Modern English. Second single released in 1982 off their album After the Snow. It reached number 3 on the Billboard Top 100 in 1983. This is Modern English, I Melt With You.
Moving forward, you you.
I'm back. That was Modern English. I Melt With You. Our next song is from the band called Toto. It's their third single release from their fourth album, Toto 4. The song reached #1, and it's the only #1 in 1983 on the Billboard Top 100. It's Africa. It's about 4 minutes, 57 seconds. And here we go.
The drums echoing tonight, and she hears only whispers of some quiet conversation. She's coming in 12:30 flight. The moonlit wings reflect the stars that guide me towards salvation. I stopped an old man along the way, hoping to find some old forgotten words or ancient melodies. He turned to me as if to say, hurry boy, it's waiting there for you. Gotta take a lot to drag me away from you. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do. I bless the rains down in Africa. Gonna take some time to do the things we never The wild dogs cry out in the night as they grow restless, longing for some solitary company. I know that I must do what's right, sure as Kilimanjaro rises like Olympus above the Serengeti. I seek to cure what's deep inside, frightened of this thing that I've become. Gonna take a lot to drag me away from you. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do. I bless the rains down in Africa. We're gonna take some time to do the things we never
So that was Toto's Africa. Our next song is Tears for Fears. It's the second song I'm playing from them. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It was released in 1985, and it's the third single from Songs from a Big Chair. Along with Shout, it was the song garnered success on the charts internationally, peaking at number 2 in Ireland and the UK, and number 1 in Canada, New Zealand, and on the Billboard Hot 100. Here's Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. You're back on T-Tom Radio. I'm your host, MADDOG. That was Tears for Fears. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Our next song is the second song from Simple Minds. Released in 1985 on the B-side of A Brass Band in Africa Chimes. It was best known for its place in the soundtrack of John Hughes' film Breakfast Club. That's right. Don't you forget about me. And we're going to play it now. This is Mad Dog D-Tom Radio. I'm doing good. I hope you're all doing good. Our next song is A Flock of Seagulls. Released in 1982, their third single from their self-titled album. It charted in Australia, reached number 7 and 9 in New Zealand and in the US respectively. Although the single did not enjoy similar success in its band's home country, the UK, it failed to make the top 40 This is Iran, Flock of Seagulls. I'm back. This is Mad Dog D-Tom Radio. That was A Flock of Seagulls, Iran. Next is Thompson Twins. Released their song in November in 1983. It was the first single on their fourth studio album, Into the Gap. 1983, it peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Top 100. Here is Hold Me Now on D-Tom Radio.
Picture pinned to my wall, an image of you and of me, and we're laughing with love at it all. But look at our life now, all tattered and torn. We fuss and we fight and delight in the tears that we cry until dawn. Oh, hold me now. Oh, hold my heart. Stay with me. Let loving start. Let loving start. You say I'm a dreamer. We're two of a kind. Both of us searching for some perfect world we know we'll never find. So perhaps I should leave here, yeah, and go far away. But you know that there's nowhere that I'd rather be than with you here today. Hold me now.
D-Tom Radio, this is Mad Dog. That was Thompson Twins' Hold Me Now. You know, that Flock of Seagulls song reminded me of Grand Theft Auto for all you video game guys out there. And gals. You know, there's no reason why gals can't play video games too. We have one more song here. It's probably, you know, my favorite song of the 80s. It's definitely a big deal because its video was like what made and broke MTV as a whole. It's Aha, recorded and released in 1984 on the band's debut album, Hunting High and Low. The original Take On Me was recorded in 1984. It took 2 versions and 3 releases to finally chart in the UK. Finally reaching number 2 in the UK singles chart in October of 1985. In the US in October 85, the song became the only Aha song to reach the top of the Billboard Hot 100, due in small part to the wide exposure on MTV and its innovative music video directed by Steve Barron. Here's Aha, Take On Me.
N3 Radio is a non-profit teaching platform for non-professionals. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or professional use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The Jazzlands, only here on N3 Radio. RC brings you the best in past and present jazz music. Live, Wednesday, 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern, only here on n3radio.com.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Catch a ride on the wave with the best in retro wave music beginning at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday with your host Robert here on N3 Radio and at n3radio.com.
Hey, did you see that post online about Julie? I totally wrote it. Wasn't it hilarious? Is all of that true? Who cares? She's done anyways.
Are you talking about that post about Julie?
Yeah, funny, right?
No, but that post about you was.
What post?
Oh, you didn't hear? You're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, and oh yeah, you smell too. The whole school saw it, no big deal.
That's so mean. Did they really write that about me?
No, but how does it feel?
Sometimes you can feel all alone when being bullied. That's when you can really use a friend. If you see someone you know being bullied online, let them know they're not alone. Stand up now, support a friend, save a life. For more information on cyberbullying, visit stopthemean.wordpress.com or call our hotline at 1-800-555-STOP.
In the club, rock and roll and bang your head with me. Rock and roll and bang your head with me.
Bang Your Head. DJ Kenny Starr brings you the best mixes of hip-hop and rap just like back in the club. Starting every day live, 12 midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific, only here on n3radio.com. Tune in.
Bang your head, just bang your head. I'm in the club rocking out to a guitar. Bet you did.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's time to start.
Rock concert movement number 1. The basic head bob. Ready, go.
The Artist Spotlight, only here on n3radio.com. Robert brings you the best and the greatest hits from your favorite artists. Live Thursdays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, only here on n3radio.com.
Nearly 9 out of 10 gay and lesbian youth say they have been harassed or bullied at school.
Nearly 2/3 of them have never reported the incident to the school.
More than 60% of LGBT youth say they feel unsafe at school because of their sexual orientation.
Words have power. Think
before you speak.
A twisted reality for twisted people. A talk show for the truly insane. Join Robert and Stacy for some truly interesting talk radio on no excuses, no apologies, no regrets. Weird stories, epic music, and more. Live Thursday starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, only here on N3 Radio.
Well, bring out the gimp. I think the gimp's sleeping. Well, I guess you just have to go wake him up now, won't you?
This is some fucked up, repugnant shit.
N3 Radio in the mix.